Good morning and welcome to Tweet of the Week. I am delighted to be joined today by David Key, who is the president of ARCH, which is the African American Resources and Cultural Heritage Group that was founded in 2001. And David, we are so excited because FCPS recently signed a partnership with you so that we could collaborate on ensuring that we bring the richness of African American history into our curriculum and opportunities for our students. So thank you so much for joining me today. Can you talk a little bit about some of the resources that ARCH does have available and where you're putting those now and how our students and families can begin to access those?
Well, sure. First of all, we're really excited to be have a partnership with Frederick County Schools. We've been interested in doing that for some time, actually. As you know, African American history has always been sort of marginalized, and we have this tendency to squeeze everything in February. And I always tell people this is something that we can talk about any month, all the time, and it sort of allows a better understanding of history in general by including it. And I think that, so what we have done over the years is put on presentations and collected a number of items. And going back to how ARCH began, it was a vision of Mr. William O. Lee, who was a teacher in the Board of Education as well as a principal. He then became an alderman, so he's been a leader of our community for some time. And his vision was to tell the African American story, and he specifically wanted it to be told by the people who lived it. And so as a result of that, we have developed a number of programs through our sources and what we've collected over the years. So and we've wanted to share these things with the system, the educational system, and I think that what it generates is a clear understanding of the richness that the African American people had to offer. It also talks about, points out the endurance and the suffering along the way, but at the same time had a tremendous amount to contribute to the society. So what our purpose or hope is to start at an early age to give a broader view of history in general. I know it's been a long time ago, and I have I don't have a handle on what's being taught in history today, but I know when I was going to school, the history that I was taught was not relatable to me. We were talking about Western civilization, or things that I couldn't relate to very well. Had I, and at the same time, I lived in Urbana, and right up the road is the National Park Service now, and there are so many stories around that area that tell African American stories, and I did not know that. And again, I think that living in Frederick during times of segregation, I did know that All Saints Street was the hub of the African American community, and Lincoln School, now Lincoln Elementary School, was the only high school that we were able to attend in Frederick during that time. And we were also instrumental in reclaiming that name after it was named South Frederick for so long. But again, we thought that it was important to tell that history, and it was extremely rewarding, I think, and to see when we had the name changed, we went to the students and teachers to let them know the reasons and why we were interested in changing, and had this tremendous program that included them, and to see the pride that came out of that was really important, and it gave some clarity to the school that they were attending. And again, many of the teachers actually did not know the history of that school who were teaching there. So it's just so important to know that part of our history, and I think that it enhances history in general.
Absolutely. And you know, when you talk about Lincoln Elementary School, probably the only elementary school in the county that has an active alumni association. And you know, what those graduates of, as you said, was at one time the high school, continue to come back and give to enrich the lives of those students is just incredible. And the power of the stories. So often, so I'm so glad that you're capturing the stories and some of the history from people who lived it, because that's when you not only reach the intellect of a person, but you touch their heart and you help children fully hear and understand the message. And you know, you talked about the history that we learn, and I sometimes think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. And if you only put certain pieces in to explain the history, students don't see the full picture. And they don't know how all of those pieces connect and why things happened and how something happening now, you can look back and see the origin and understand more deeply if you really have unpacked and put as many different pieces of that puzzle together as you could. So I thank you, and I thank all those who have contributed to Arch in providing very critical pieces for our students to understand not only the history of Frederick County, but the history that was playing out across our whole nation. Someone once said to me, Terry, if you ever want to know what's going on in the country, just look at what's going on in Frederick, because we are like a little microcosm of that.
That is very true.
And I think historically that has been true as well. And so many valuable resources and pieces for our students to help put together. The other thing you said that just resonated so much with me was being able to relate to the people and to understand the contributions and to make that connection, because that person's like me. And that automatically draws out an interest and a curiosity that maybe would not have been there before. And so, you know, just critically important. And so this partnership is just going to really enable us to provide so much more rich history for our students.
It is. I'd like to share one moment during the time that we were having the name change at Lincoln. Like I said, we wanted to educate the students who went to South Frederick in the reasons we were wanted the name changed. And in that process, we were able to have my second grade teacher read stories to the little ones, the first and second graders at that time. And it was really interesting to watch that, because she sat on a chair and started reading, and she was actually telling the story about part of the reason for this change. But and all the kids were sitting on the floor circling her, and you could tell she was right in her element. And at the time that she was in her 90s at the time that she did that. But also during that period of time, a little girl, when we were, we were telling the story about Lincoln being segregated, and that was the only school that black students could go to. This little girl asked a question that I will never forget, and it was, where did you go if you were mixed? And it was such a, I didn't even know how to, I had to sort of look at the teacher and get some feedback as how she wanted me to answer that. But it was just, it was so telling about where we are today, and still questions that kids would have in today's world. So I think that explaining all those things just makes so much, it brings so much more clarity to the reason why it's so important to be inclusive.
Absolutely. And so, as you said, I am so glad that we have brought this partnership to fruition. I know you have already been doing amazing things with our schools, but now we're going to be able to do even more and expand our curriculum and the resources that are available. So thank you, and again, everyone affiliated with Arch, for the wonderful contribution you are making to FCPS and to the next generation of leaders through our students.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And please check things out, investigate, explore, fill in the pieces of the puzzle of our history for yourself. And I hope you will also join us next time on Tweet of the Week.